The parliament of Mali in Tripoli was set ablaze due to bad governance and economic crisis in July. Protesters had managed to penetrate the building and committed acts of vandalism. Images of thick columns of black smoke coming from its perimeters was seen as angry young protesters burnt tires. The parliament building was empty as Friday falls on the weekend in Libya. Libya's parliament had been based in Tobruk, hundreds of miles east of the capital Tripoli, since an east-west schism in 2014 following the revolt that toppled dictator Muammar Gaddafi 3 years earlier. The protester driving a bulldozer had managed to smash through part of the gate, allowing other demonstrators to enter more easily while cars of officials were set on fire. Other protesters began brandishing the green flags of Gaddafi's regime and threw office documents on air. Presidential and parliamentary elections, originally based and set for December last year, was meant to keep a UN-led peaceful process following the end of last major round of violence in 2020. The voting, however, never took place due to several deep disagreements over the poll legal basis between rival power centers in the east and west. The UN stated that talks between rival Libyan institutions aimed at breaking the deadlock had failed to resolve key differences. While some progress was made, it was not enough to move forward towards election, with two sides still at odds over who stand in presidential election. The same was experienced on 30th October 2014 in Burkina Faso, when angry protesters stormed the parliament building. The military reportedly fired on the protesters. Tear gas was also fired from an helicopter as a crowd surged towards the president's office. Parliament was due to consider changing of constitution so that Mr. Kapoore could run for office again in 2015 election. He had first took power in 1987 and had won 4 disputed elections since then. The opposition had called for a campaign of civil disobedience to demand that he stepped down. 1,500 people, however, managed to breach the security cordon and were ransacking the parliament. Protesters were setting fire to documents and stealing computer equipments. Cars outside the building were also on fire. Mr. Kapoore was a stout ally of the US and France, which used Burkina Faso as a base for military operation against militant Islamists in Sahel region. In South Africa, the fire broke out in the National Assembly building in Cape Town on Monday, 3rd January this year. The fire just broke out on the roof of the building. Reinforcement was underway by the firefighters. The parliament spokesperson Moloto Mutopo had posted a video on Twitter. Flames were sighted inside the National Assembly building, with dark plumes of smoke visible in footage broadcast on local media. The fire destroyed the 3rd floor of the old assembly, which included the office space and a gymnasium. Live video footage showed firefighters trying to douse the flames on the room from the air. Police had reported that they had arrested a 49-year-old suspect in connection with the fire and that the suspect was expected in court the next day. He was faced with charges of housebreaking and theft as well as arson. Reporting for MMU TV, this is Cherotich.